Memphis, Tennessee is the next target for President Trump's deployments of the National Guard to major American cities. It's the latest continuation of what he claims is a crackdown on rampant crime in America. He made the announcement yesterday on Fox News.
We're going to Memphis. Memphis is
That's the next city.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it.
We're bringing the military, too, if we need it. The mayor's happy. He's talking about Memphis Mayor Paul Young, a Democrat who ran on reducing crime in the city. Mayor Young held a news conference yesterday after Donald Trump made the announcement. I'm not going to characterize it. Why don't you just judge his happiness for yourself?
I want to be clear, I did not ask for the National Guard, and I don't think it's the way to drive down crime. However, that decision has been made. I do not support the National Guard. However, they are coming. It's not the mayor's call. The mayor doesn't have a say or the authority to stop them from coming. And so my goal is to make sure that as they come, that I have an opportunity to work with them to strategize on how they engage in this community.
Memphis is just the latest in a growing list of cities where Donald Trump has either deployed the National Guard or is mulling it over, dotting the East Coast, Midwest, South, and West Coast. He's been warning that Chicago could be next, but after hard pushback from the Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and city officials, Trump backed off, at least for now. We have no idea what's going on with Chicago. For more on this, I'm joined by the Democratic State Representative Justin J. Pearson of Tennessee. He represents the state's 86th district, which includes the Memphis area. Representative, good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk about this.
I'm taken by what Mike Johnson said, where I thought it was a joke or like a meme or a AI, where he told cities, yield, man. Just let them come in and show you how they can reduce crime. It's not the way government works. That's not the way we work. We don't just yield, man, to somebody else and let them militarize our cities.
No, this is the playbook for the abuse of power and the building up of an authoritarian regime led by a white supremacist president in an effort to become the wannabe dictator that he's always articulated that he wanted to be. And it's particularly obvious that black cities and black-led cities or black majority cities are the main targets by this administration, by Governor Bill Lee in Tennessee. And it is also apparent that they have done absolutely nothing to actually improve the quality of lives of people. If you're ever going to deal with crime, you have to talk about poverty. There's been no conversation about poverty. There's been no conversation about gun violence prevention. There's been nothing to actually systemically address the problems and the issues that we see. But what they are trying to do, and what we need to be so, eyes wide open about, is they're trying to take over the military to be used for political purposes. And this is about crime today. But as you know, the midterms are coming, a presidential election is coming. We should all be terrified by what we are seeing.
Yeah, one needs to read a pamphlet on history to understand that the fighting crime thing and bringing the military thing all over the world is a ruse. But let me talk about, you brought up two specific things. That if you want to improve quality of life, you got to deal with poverty and you got to deal with gun violence. You were ejected from the Tennessee legislature. I want to remind people, you're not some random activist. You were ejected because of having to do with gun violence. It was about a shooting in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. One of the largest mass shootings in the state of Tennessee, the Covenant School shooting in 2023, we stood up, myself and two of my colleagues, to say we need to do something about gun violence. The number one cause of death for children under the age of 18 is by a bullet, not by cancer, not by a car accident. We have a problem. And because we were standing up, I was expelled by the Tennessee General Assembly with Governor Bill Lee as governor of our state for taking a stand and saying we need to do something. And so this is completely and entirely a ruse. It is to distract us away from the fact that they have done absolutely nothing to improve the quality of our lives. If you wanted to deal with gun violence, Governor Bill Lee, President Trump, then you would ban assault weapons. You would make sure that people would have to pass background checks. You would do things to take firearms out of the hands of people who should not have them. But that is not what is happening. They're not saying they're investing billions of dollars into poverty reduction plans, into housing, into economic opportunity, into educational educational access for people in Memphis. They're just saying, we're going to bring the military and somehow that's going to solve your problems. It didn't do it in 1968 after Dr. King's assassination. It didn't do it after the Memphis Fire Department's protests in the 70s. Bringing the National Guard is not something that has ever been to the benefit of our communities overwhelmingly. And so we do not want them here in Memphis, in Shelby County. What we do want is federal intervention financially. We do not want military occupation.
Let's talk about the other part of this, poverty reduction. Arguably, the things that this administration has done between DOGE and the budget worsen poverty. There's cuts to SNAP. There's firing of federal employees, disproportionately black and disproportionately black women. We've seen, I think the numbers, it's over 300,000 black women have lost their jobs since the inauguration of Donald Trump in the federal civil service. So it's not even that they're not doing things to improve underlying poverty. We might be worsening it.
They are doing everything to worsen poverty, to make the conditions in which people in this country are living in worse than they were before this administration was in office. And so you saw with the big ugly bill, the transfer of trillions of dollars of resources from people in SNAP benefits, for health care, for the things that they need in order to survive, from poorer folks and people who are more struggling, to the wealthiest and most powerful people in the United States of America. The largest legislative financial contribution from the federal government that has ever happened in history, to further entrench poverty, to make it more difficult for people to be able to live. Every decision that this administration has made, the President of the United States and Governor Bill Lee, Cameron Sexton, Rand McNally right here in the state of Tennessee, everything has been, how do we make more money for corporations and billionaires? And how do we take more from people who are struggling? How do we make more people poor? How do we make more people suffer? And then when you deal with the consequences of that instability, you deal with the consequences of their actions. They say, well, we have a crime problem, and now the only solution is to send in the National Guard. That is not the only solution. That's a false solution. That's a red herring that distracts away from the fact that we are not dealing with any of the things that could actually eradicate the problems that we are seeking to solve. As a matter of fact, we could deal with them, but they refuse to. They're running the complete opposite direction at the behest of millionaires and billionaires who are making profits off of the pain and making profits off of the poverty and the further entrenchment of a social caste system in this country. One of the things economic caste system.
One of the things I think that you talk about that's interesting is that you don't bother with the statistics about how violent crime is down by whatever percentage it is in any given city, including Memphis, which has a very high crime rate. You're not because I think you lose your audience when you start saying, because if you're a victim of violent crime, you would like violent crime solved. You're saying there's a way to solve these things. This just isn't it.
That's correct. And I have had loved ones who we have lost due to gun violence, many people who I'm closely connected with who have been suffered from crime, right? We know that is a reality. And you want the cases to be solved. You want the people to be held accountable. But you also have a recognition that the only way that we solve these problems is by ensuring we get the necessary resources into communities to prevent them from happening in the first place. The reality is, in our city and in cities and places all across this country, crime is happening. There's no place in America where there's zero crime. But the reality is the places that have fewer crimes are the ones that have the lowest levels of poverty, higher levels of education, more access to job opportunities, more opportunities to really live out their people's own American dream. But when people's American dream is being turned into an American nightmare due to over-policing, due to policies that re-entrench poverty, that is where we have problems that exacerbate themselves. And we have jails like we have in Memphis, too unpopular, that have more people than they can actually house. And a lot of people with mental illnesses who need care that they're not getting.
Representative Pearson, good to see you again. As always, thank you for being with us. Democratic State Representative Justin J. Pearson of Tennessee.